So the purpose of this presentation is to explore a bit what's happening right now in the next 2 years. Who am I? I'm Lawrence Nahum. I have a background in computer science. I've been working in the financial industry doing OTC derivatives confirmation. And recently I've started GreenAddress, which is a multi-sig API wallet, as well as an instant confirmation provider. So what do we have today with Bitcoin? We got transactions that take some time. You can't really know whether a transaction is going to get confirmed immediately or in 10 minutes or in 40 minutes. It's quite variable. And some are insecure because of this. The fees are rising. They have been rising for the last for months at the very least with the stress test and the block size and the blocks getting fuller. And does it really scale as it is used today? So this is a quick list of things that are happening. BIP002 is the BIP for malleability, I believe. BIP065 is check lock time verify, and our check lock time verify stands for relative check lock time verify, which is something that is being discussed right now. We got full and first in safe replaced by fee being proposed by Peter Todd, and child pays for parent. A way to make a transaction confirmed by having a child of such transaction pay for the fee for its parent. Then we got Lightning, which seems, we're all very enthusiastic about it. We don't know when it's going to come. We don't know how exactly it's going to work, how path discovery is going to work. And then we got sidechains, which everyone is talking about, and there's so much about them that it's still quite early on to know what they will open. So in the specific, in terms of BIP065, what they're really enabling, what are these BIPs? How are they changing things for us? Well, both of these BIPs will enable, finally, micropayment channels. It's something that we could have, and we had for a few years already. However, they never really worked. And they never really worked because of malleability. The real problem was that basically it was never possible to open a channel trustlessly, without trusting your counterparty. And with these BIPs, it will be possible. So you can send someone, and even if you don't trust them, open a channel. Even if they disappear, you can take your money back. We don't have this guarantee right now. And the nice thing about payment channels, for those that don't know exactly how they work, is that you basically have an initial transaction on the blockchain, and from then on you can send transactions to your counterparty instantly without risk of confirmations, and it actually enables micropayments. So you can actually start sending tiny fractions of cents of dollars or euros or Bitcoin or whatever without the friction of transaction fees. Right now, if you want to send a transaction for, say, 1/10 of a cent, you're going to spend a lot more on the transaction information, on the transaction fee, sorry, unless you use some coin that is very old, and because of coinage, it may go through anyway, without paying the fee. However, that's not going to last very long, in the sense that blocks are getting fuller, and miners want money. They don't really like to do this for free. And the nice thing about payment channels is that they really scale. I mean, you do need a transaction on the chain to open the payment channel, and you need a transaction on the chain to close the payment channel. But in the between, you can have 100 transactions, 1,000 transactions, 1,000,000 transactions without paying for fees. Well, unless your counterparty wants for you to pay for fees. But the idea is that you don't have to. So replaced by fee and child pays for, those two things are actually not part of the consent of the Bitcoin protocol. These things can be changed by miners without asking for permission. And because this, in a way, improves the Bitcoin protocol and in a way allows miners more money, they have a huge incentive to actually adopt these sort of things. So let's try to see what they are. What is replaced by fee? Replaced by fee is a way to send it, and then if you see that it's not getting confirmed fast enough for you, increase its priority, or perhaps therefore it's just not confirming, what you can do is replace the transaction. You can add some and, you know, increased. If you want to try like this without. Okay. And there's two variants of replace by fee. One is full. It just replaces the transaction if you increase the fee by a certain amount. You can't just add anything you want. There's a certain size. There's a certain increment size that you have to apply in order for the nodes to propagate the new transaction. But basically allows you to substitute the transaction with another one that shares at least one of the inputs. And while this is great and quite efficient, it also, at the same time, quite problematic because it sort of disrupts zero confirmation security, or shall I say insecurity. The point is that full RBF, full replace by fee, will make it very, very easy to double spend. Not that it's not already super easy to double spend, but it will make it even easier. So there is a trade-off. The other variant, first in safe. Well, this one is a bit better for people that are currently accepting zero confirmations. Because the way first in safe works is that you can only add inputs and add out, but you cannot change remove any of the inputs, and you cannot remove any of the outputs. This means that it doesn't enable double spends. But at the same time, it's much less efficient than the full RBF because it means that anytime you want to increase the priority of a transaction or add a fee, you have to have some other input available in your wallet. So if you ever received only one transaction and first in safe it's used, you cannot increase the fee. There's no way for you to increase the fee. You cannot change your change address to get less change and give the miner more fee. You have to have some other input, which is problematic in itself. And child pays for parent. It's a way for the recipient or the sender by the change amount to basically increase the fee and even deter fraud. Because let's say you got double spent, you could use a child that is being to basically send the entire amount to miners, thus deterring fraud. So in the detail, full replace by fee is cheaper, more efficient, but the latter, the first in safe, is more complicated, but at the same time, impacts zero confirmation insecurity. Child pays for parent is the most expensive of the option to increase the fee, but it's one of the options that it's more interesting for people receiving transaction because the other one only protects the sender or allows the sender to increase it. That actually allows the recipient to increase it, to increase priority of a transaction they're receiving. I think replace by fee, either in the full version or the first in safe, as well as child pays for parent, are inevitable. Because the miners have an incentive to make more money. And I think it's also inevitable because as the blocks gets fuller, transaction will get stuck behind and they will want to increase the transaction priority. As I said, the full replace by fee is very controversial because it makes insecure zero-conf even more insecure, but it's more efficient. And I think eventually, maybe in a couple of years, we'll see it much more adopted than it is right now. I'm only going to touch on Lightning and sidechains. But the idea is that just like payment channels, it allows for instant confirmation. You don't have to share the transaction with your counterparty. It's a system that works by by a network, so that you don't have to be directly connected to the counterparty, but you can be connected to your counterparty through someone else. So there's some node path finding exercise there, and just in channels it scales a lot. 100x or 1000x is it's in order, and it requires no trust and aims for interoperability. So it's what I think will get adopted. And also, with fuller blocks, is really the only way, even if we increase the block size eventually, it's the only way to scale Bitcoin, so far, that we know of. So put all together, people will be able to pay for microtransactions online and in brick and mortar via off-chain peers that they do not need to trust. Normal transaction will still would have optimal and updatable fees depending on urgency trade-off. I'm not saying that people won't use the blockchain. People will have to use the blockchain even with Lightning, at least to open and close their channels. However, it will be... Lightning and payment channels allow to scale much better and to have instant confirmation, which is something you just cannot have on the blockchain, on-chain. So sidechains, we're going to have privacy improvements, confidential transactions. It's a way to, a bit like CoinJoin, to hide the amounts that people are transferring. We also have more efficient transaction signatures and multi-signature, which means that we can pack more transaction in blocks, thus using the space more efficiently. And it will allow to basically digitalize assets with a blockchain derivative security. It's not exactly as secure as the blockchain, as the Bitcoin blockchain, but it will have a derived security from it. I heard many times someone say SPV comparable security. I think it's a bit of a in the middle. Sorry. And yeah, it will enable lots of things, from oracleized consensus, lotteries, all sorts of things, trustlessly, so without having to trust some third party. Sidechains are really interesting because they will increase the utility by adding lots of new features and speed up development. The idea is that, I'm done, conclusion. The idea is that we can develop much faster because we're not putting at risk Bitcoin and the blockchain. We're putting at risk some new experimental sidechain. If it doesn't work, only the people that went in that sidechain will suffer, not the entire ecosystem. So we can try things that are a bit more hazardous and dangerous for the sake of new developments. And yeah, we can expect everything being digitalized, and the future is very exciting.
And complicated.
And complicated. Questions?
Yes, fantastic. Thank you so much. We have a lot of questions right here because finally all the hardcore questions are going to be asked, right? Okay, so I saw your hand first. Okay.
I have a question. When you have Lightning, when you have micropayment channel, basically it means that you have to freeze your funds for a day or two to establish this channel. Do you see it's a problem? Because the price of the coin can vary and you want to pay really small amount and then you have to reserve for a full period?
Yeah, so it's definitely a problem in the sense that when you open a channel, if the counterparty disappears, you have a timeout, which you have to wait before you can take your funds back. And if a hub or a payment channel operator is malicious, they can make you wait a lot, right? I don't think it's necessarily a problem because eventually you will have a number of operators of hubs that have a reputation. Even though they're trustless, there's still going to be some reputation system whereby you will trust some node to not just disappear. And the idea is that this timeout will be updatable, so you don't have to close the channel. You won't be forced to close the channel. You can increase the timeout. This is still in development. Lightning is not ready, as I said, and payment channels are just being enabled right now by a couple of features that are not even everywhere yet. But they're coming in the sense that they're already merged in, and as people move on to later versions of Bitcoin Core, they will be available. So it's all baby steps. I think that there's going to be some bumps. like timeouts and things like that, where people panic because the price moved and they have money locked, and perhaps the payment channel doesn't allow them to move to exchanges, or the exchange they want to use doesn't use payment channels or Lightning. So yeah, there's definitely that. But I believe we will eventually get to the point where everyone will accept some sort of Lightning Network payment, and we won't use every day on-chain. We will just use it as a security hook to make transactions trustless, instant, and secure.
Fantastic. We have time for one more question, unfortunately, but afterwards we can have them all asked Lawrence, because he's not going anywhere till the end of the day.
Thank you, Lawrence. Can you switch to put all together slide?
This one, or the Lightning one, or?
Another one. With signatures. You said that something that efficiency of signature will be enhanced. I want to ask you how it's going to be enhanced. I mean, does it mean that ECDSA signature will be changed to some another cryptography algorithm, or
No, I'm definitely not an expert on sidechains. I'm just trying to learn, like lots of us. I believe it's over the same curve. The Schnorr signatures, the ones used that are more efficient, are called Schnorr signatures. There are some advantages and some disadvantages compared to what we have today. One of the advantages, for instance, is that they're more efficient, better packed, so that you can store more on a block. And the other interesting thing is that you can have multi-sig scale. Right now, you're limited to theoretical 15. And usually even less, because if you have too many inputs, then the transaction gets too big and it doesn't even get propagated. It's not standard. So the Schnorr signature allows you to increase the n. At the same time, though, it has some. It's not just better. It has some things, some drawbacks. One of the drawbacks, for instance, that right now, if you have a multi-sig and someone makes a transaction, you know exactly who signed it within the multi-sig. If 2 keys out of 3, you know which of the 2. So you know who to go and fire if they did something stupid. With the Schnorr signatures, you know someone signed. You don't know who. Yeah, it's the same as threshold signature. You have no idea who signed.
Thank you so much, Lawrence. Let's please make a very big round of applause to Lawrence, coming all the way from Italy to have this wonderful presentation. Thank you so much, Lawrence. All right, so we go further. We're a little bit out of our schedule, and my big pleasure to invite Martin Albert, coming all the way from Helsinki.